Coffee with Craig. I'm Craig. It's Friday. I am looking forward to the weekend, as I'm sure you all are. Now, tomorrow, once again, there's going to be a march here in Sacramento. It's going to be at the park, at McKinley Park over on Alhambra is where it's going to start, 12 noon. So look forward to meeting you guys there. We're going to march for a little bit, and then we're going to have a bunch of good speakers, including yours truly. So I hope that you guys can make it out. Once again, that's here in California. So if you have a McKinley Park wherever you are and it's not in Sacramento, California, well, then you're going to have a little bit of trouble trying to find us. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about the idea of a concept of civil rights in general, but specifically, does the exercising of one of your civil rights mean you forfeit all of your other civil rights? We have a case in hand here. It was an article that I was reading in the National Review. It's about an individual named Andrew Scott. Now, Andrew Scott is an individual who was up late one night and was playing video games with his friends and his girlfriend and got a pounding at the door. So someone was knocking at the door in the middle of the night. Well, evidently, this individual believed, being not living in the best of neighborhoods, decided he figured it was odd to have someone knocking on his door, or in this case, as has been said, pounding at his door in the middle of the night. So he chose to exercise his constitutional right to bear arms in his own home, grabbed his firearm and answered the door, and was shot to death. Now, on the other side, you had a law enforcement officer who was responding to a call about an armed robbery that had taken place. And evidently, the individual had gotten away on a motorcycle, and at this apartment complex, they found a motorcycle that fit the description of the motorcycle that was involved in the incident. Talked to one of the neighbors. One of the neighbors told him where to go, told him what door to knock on. Evidently, he was misdirected by that particular neighbor and knocked on the wrong door. So he knocked on the door, did not identify himself as law enforcement in the middle of the night. Gentleman opens the door. He sees the individual has a firearm, and he shoots and kills him. Now, it's a tragic mistake. It's easy to see how this particular mistake happened. And, there are those who would argue that the law enforcement officer should probably do jail time. I don't know. I'm not making that case one way. I'm not making that case one way or the other. But evidently in this particular case, the law enforcement officer did not face criminal charges, but there was a civil lawsuit filed against Lac County in Pennsylvania, where this shooting took place. And in this particular case, now a lot of people don't realize this, but law enforcement and cities are oftentimes, in many cases, are immune. In cases like this, are immune from civil lawsuits. And the only way in which you can deem, or they say you can deem that someone that immunity is gone, is if the individual specifically broke the law. Well, in this particular case, what happened was, the civil suit was thrown out because they're saying, well, the officer didn't break any laws, clearly didn't break any laws. And while I get that logically, it seems to be a place where the letter of the law works directly against the spirit of the law. In other words, this is a guy who clearly made a mistake. I don't know if it was a crime. I'm not saying it was a crime or it wasn't. I just know, and I think we all can agree, that the guy made a mistake. The representative of Lac County made a mistake. And that mistake resulted in someone losing their life. And therefore, that individual and or the organization that he represents should have to pay some sort of a price. Once again, that's something that I believe in. Now, even if you agree with the legal arguments here, here is what gets me. Now, we have a right against unreasonable search and seizure, right? That is a fundamental right that we have. In particular, we also have a constitutional right to keep and bear arms, especially as enumerated in Heller, in our own home. So here's what the district court judge, said in relation to this case. And wouldn't that be nice that it just like disappeared like right in front of me? Come back. Okay, I love this. Basically what the district court said, what the district court judge said was this individual, because he chose to have a gun in his hand at the time, because he answered the door with a gun in his hand, that changed everything. Oh, here it is. Specifically said, Andrew Scott made the fatal decision that night. He chose to answer the door with the gun in his hand. That changed everything. That is the one thing, that thing more than anything else led to this tragedy. Now, I got to tell you, it seems to me that in society today, that people want to believe that if you believe in exercising your Second Amendment right, it means that you forfeit other rights in relation to the Second Amendment. So this guy answers the door with a gun in his hand, exercising his right to defend himself in his own home. Therefore, he gives up his right to unreasonable search and seizure. The individual didn't have a warrant. He didn't identify himself as law enforcement at any time. And then he unreasonably shot and killed the individual. Here in the state of California, if you own a gun store, you're not allowed to have a picture of a gun on the outside of your establishment. In certain billboards, you're not allowed to advertise firearms if you're a firearms store. They will specifically say you are prohibited from being able to advertise firearms or firearms-related products. It's been deemed in some places that if a student wears a shirt, an NRA shirt or a shirt with a firearm on it to school, they can be told to take it off, turn it inside out, or be suspended and sent home. You are told through things called a gun violence restraining order, which is the law here in California and in the state of Washington, that individuals can go and ask for a secret court hearing where they will basically be able to take away your right to keep and bear arms and come and seize, at least in the state of California, come and seize your firearms. And you haven't had your day in court. That's due process rights. Once again, you forfeit those as a gun owner. These are the sorts of things, private property rights, due process rights, free speech rights, the rights against unreasonable search and seizure. These are all rights that for some reason there are individuals out there that believe you give up those rights because you want to exercise your Second Amendment rights. I think this sends a very dangerous message. That's just me. I believe that all of our rights, first of all, while they all support one another, one does not diminish the other. I might have a big mouth. That doesn't mean that I should lose my right to keep and bear arms. Right? It doesn't mean that I should give up my right to unreasonable search and seizure. Right? Because I have a right to due process, it doesn't mean that I don't have the right to the presumption of innocence. It doesn't mean I give up that right. Because I have a right to remain silent doesn't mean that I give up my right to due process or the right to be presumed innocent. But for some reason, people believe that they can take away your free speech rights, they can take away your due process rights, they can take away your private property rights. Why? Guns. And that, my friends, is the rest of the story. Let's see what you folks have to say. I'm sure you are totally and utterly dispassionate about this particular concept or idea. Butch Richard says, very dangerous. Yes. And by the way, don't get me wrong. We should operate with some sort of wisdom when exercising our rights. When exercising all of our rights, we need to operate in wisdom. But once again, from what I understand, this individual was not acting stupidly. Imagine you live in the wrong neighborhood, right? You get a knock at the door in the middle of the night. Someone's pounding at your door. You know, it's not unreasonable. I mean, you don't even have to be in the wrong neighborhood. There's a neighborhood here, a neighborhood of Natomas, that suffered a rash of home invasion robberies. Well, that would just make sense then, wouldn't it? You get a pounding in the middle of the night. So yes, we should operate in some wisdom that reduces the danger, but yet and still, the exercise of your rights doesn't mean you give up all your other rights. Living in California, our 2A rights and other rights are always in jeopardy. All our rights matter. We have to keep up the good fight. That's from Philip. Yes, we do need to make sure to keep, we have to make sure to keep up the fight. And we need to do it though along the right lines. We need to understand something. It's not about hunting. As much as I know some of y'all out there love to hunt, hunting is not, at least I have not seen anywhere that it's enumerated as a constitutional right. But the right to keep and bear arms is. The right to against unreasonable search and seizure, the right to due process. You know, all of these are all rights. The right to private property. Those are all constitutionally enumerated rights, and it's important that we stand up for that. Because here's the thing. There are a lot of people out there that when we clearly communicate that, they may not be a part of gun culture, they may not be interested in owning a firearm, but they do understand the importance of constitutional rights. A viewer from Australia. Hi, Craig. A new firearm owner down under have recently saw your time on left-wing Australian television show, The Project. Most of us have only recently heard. Yeah, I'm sure they're not televising that. Just, by the way, tell your friends this. Your friends, you folks down there in Australia, tell them this. The interview was going so bad, they cut the satellite feed. So what you saw at the end where I was like, thank you. Yeah, no, that was the end of the interview because they cut me off. I was making them look so bad because, well, they weren't prepared. They didn't know the issue. They thought that I was just going to allow them to one, talk over me, but number two, get away with misrepresenting the facts. And they didn't get away with it, and so they had to have the last word. So they cut me off. So make sure, go on their Facebook page and let them know that you know that they got their hat handed to them. Anyway, do that for a brother from California. Thank you so very much. Here we have Michael. I have encouraged everyone to keep fighting California. Disease is spreading down here as our news media have spread the fake news regarding ghost guns. Yes, they are definitely spreading the fake news about firearms. It's kind of funny. I was reading an article. I was just reading an article how, you know, the Center for Disease Control misrepresented the accidental death numbers in 2014 for firearms, right? They totally misrepresented it. And when they were called on it and they admitted that they made the mistake, they never corrected their numbers. Why? Because, well, that didn't play for their story. So they had to make them sound artificially big. You look at instances, well, oh shoot, look at this guy, Andrew Scott. Why wasn't the story of this guy, Andrew Scott, why wasn't it on USA Today? Why wasn't it on all of these news channels? Why wasn't it on CNN or Fox News? And the reason why, well, because it doesn't fit the Black Lives Matter perspective of an individual getting shot because, well, he wasn't black. Well, hey, gun owners' lives matter. That's our new hashtag. Hashtag gun owners' lives matter. Let's see it trending on Twitter and Facebook. Craig, why is your video coming up so late? You know, I will tell you, something I'll tell you, and this is kind of interesting. There's been for a while now, at least the last year and a half, a speculation that certain social media sources, I won't say which ones, Facebook has been suppressing certain outlets or certain websites that deal with firearms. It may just be an algorithm. It may be something that they do intentionally. But whatever it is, I've noticed that there are some times when people don't even hear about our feed until after it's already gone on. I know there have been times where people get the report relatively late. But here's the thing. It's here. So even if you don't catch it live, you can always watch it and share it. And that's what's going to happen. That's the important. The important part is that if you like what you're hearing here, then you need to share it. You need to spread the word. Get other people on board, get other people listening, get other people to pay attention. That's the advantage of social media. And guess what? It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you a thing. And it allows you to reach people that otherwise we couldn't reach. People who don't even know that we exist. But you know us and you know them. And by expanding your sphere of influence, you expand our sphere of influence. And when I say our, I'm not talking about me, Craig DeLuz, or Us Farms Policy Coalition. I'm talking about everybody who believes in advocating on behalf of the Second Amendment. Everybody who's watching now, everybody who's ever posted, everybody who's ever donated, everybody who's ever called a legislator and told them that they need to do right or they're going to vote them out of office. That's whose sphere of influence is expanded and grows. All right, well, hey, it's about that time for me to go. Going to have a fun weekend. I'm looking forward to having a fun weekend myself. Going to be at the rally tomorrow. Hopefully I'll get a chance to meet some of you guys there. Hey, if you guys are there, come up, say hello. I got to tell you, you have no idea how much I enjoy talking with each and every one of you. I really appreciate it when I get opportunities to see you guys when I'm out at some of these events. So please come up, say hello. I really want to meet you. Anyway, take care. Have a fun weekend. Have a safe weekend, and remember to stay free.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.